Hello, good evening, everybody. Congratulations to everyone who has managed to send their kids to bed already. I count myself in that, although admittedly I also went for an afternoon nap. So it was really my wife who gets the credit. Dave Walker and Gemma also seem to have done that. Congratulations, guys, and welcome to another show. Really excited about tonight's show because we have someone on who we've been wanting to get on for a while. When I put out the call to who do we want to see on analog television, he activated his fan club and we were inundated with 2 to 3 messages asking for him. So we have on tonight, we have Solarcan Sam, and we also have Marina. Welcome back. And
Yay!
Sam, love your underground disco layer that you have going
This
on.
is a workshop. Welcome to the Solarcan workshop, Paul and Marina.
Exactly. Well, Marina, another week where we have been shamed by the brilliant backdrop setup.
Exactly. We have to make a serious improvement about that. We have to do something.
So, Sam, talk us through your setup. You have disco lights, which is an essential for every video conferencing professional.
Yeah, I've got a nice video lamp here, which is changing colours. It's a big LED lamp, which is for videos, but I thought it would be fun for this occasion. I'll switch it off to just white light in a second. But I thought it was a nice way to introduce ourselves. Behind me, I have some of my equipment.
In fact, now hang on a minute. Let me close down me and Marina momentarily to show the full splendour that we have, because you have. There is a small amount of product placement and branding going on.
Only a little.
But only a little, which is
only a little bit. That's my entire branding. This tiny little logo that we've got here. So,
and is there any truth in the fact that you spent all of it to get to the photography show? That didn't happen, so you just moved it into your room. Is this what's happened?
Maybe no.
Perfect. All right then. Let's set that back up. So, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us a mere 3 weeks out from Solarcan Day, which is a massive moment in nice branded massive moment in your in the calendar.
Sorry.
You're just enjoying yourself.
Solarcan Day is June the 21st. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You're drinking vodka out of a mug. You're having a great time.
Are you drinking?
In your lair. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. All right then. Before we get stuck into the details of Solarcan Day, let's find out a little bit about Solarcan. Full stop. So, Sam, Solarcan Sam, the man. Talk us through what a Solarcan is, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone online. Hello, Paul. Hello, Marina. We've said all that before. So, what is a Solarcan? I suspect most of the people reviewing this at the moment know exactly what a Solarcan is, but just in case don't, a Solarcan is. Let me grab one that's not in a box. It's an extreme. You see that properly? It's an extreme time exposure camera capable of capturing the path of the sun over days, weeks, months, or years. And it captures photographs like this.
Whoa.
There we go. What we're looking at here is a 4-month Solarcan image. And every single line that you see on here is a different day. So you'll notice some days that don't have a line. That would be because there'll be a cloudy day or a dark day.
Makes sense.
And some days are dotted. There'll be cloudy days where clouds are passing, some cumulus clouds, perhaps, something like that. So how does it work? Well, you take your Solarcan. I'm going to slowly run out of these because I forgot where I put
Wait a minute, right? I'm going to take Marina and me off the screen as well. Sam, you have the full screen to show us everything.
Make me all nervous. Okay, so how does it work? How does this, because it doesn't look like a traditional camera, how does it work as a camera? Well, it's essentially a pinhole camera. So there's a tiny 0.4 millimeter pinhole just there, and there's some photographic paper inside. As the sun passes through the sky, the light that's coming from the sun is so strong, it passes through the pinhole and it burns a line across the photographic paper inside. Now, we're all familiar with photographic paper, hopefully, those who are tuning into Analog Wonderland. And one thing we're always warned is keep your paper under a safe light or in a safe room and out of the light. So the reason we do that is because it'll get fogged if we take it out of the dark room or out of a safe light. However, what Solarcan does, it uses that problem to its advantage. So it hacks the idea of what photographic paper is, and it takes that discoloration and captures that inside on the photographic paper that's inside. And that's how it works, essentially. Mm-hmm. So when you're finished capturing the sun's path, and the optimum time is 6 months from solstice to solstice, more commonly known as Solarcan day to Solarcan day.
That's right.
Yeah, I've heard that. I remember learning about that in school, actually.
You can retrieve the photographic paper that's inside using a tin opener. So a tin opener opens up the inside, and it leaves a very smooth edge around the inside if it's done properly. So if you put it on the wrong way, it won't be done properly, but the right way, the same way you do a baked bean tin, and it should be nice and clean to get out, and you can pull out your image, and your image will look something a bit like this. So a bit brownish, a bit magenta maybe, a bit, it'll be white. So the white photographic paper, but some sort of unusual colours are in, not the sort of traditional colours that you see. And all you do then is take a photograph of it or take a scan of it and invert it. That means when you turn the black to white and the white to black, etc. And that's where the magic happens. So here's an example of one pre-invert and one after invert there. So you can see the difference and change. And what we recommend people do is after they've inverted it, they do some edits, use their own creativity a bit, adjust the curves, the levels, the contrast, the saturation, the clarity if you're really filthy, and you can come up with a lovely image. And that's your creation. And just to finish up on that, it's more than just a camera to me, and I've yet to find a way to say this which doesn't sound cheesy. It's as much as a camera as it is a learning experience. Mm-hmm. What people get out of Solarcan is an understanding of the world and how the sun moves through the sky and how optics work, how photography works. It's a bit of a gateway drug into analog photography, really. Yeah, that helps.
Hang on. Round of applause. Oh, look at that. That was incredible. This feels a little bit like the start of Dragon's Den, where it's like you've done your presentation and now we get to just grill you like, what's the profit for last year compared to the brand per we're not going to do that. Everyone will be thrilled to hear. So already there's been a couple of people commenting saying that they're excited that they have installed their first Solarcans and captured the sunniest springtime in recent memory, which should be a lot of then unbroken lines, presumably.
Yes.
Apart from the last couple of days, at least here. Dave Walker said his is on the roof of the European Space Agency. Although he's not sure how he's going to get it back down during the lockdown. So the capture more than 6 months. And Cheryl Lee's written saying, so no chemicals are necessary. Now, this is something actually I wanted to just clarify.
Yeah.
So no fix, I think, is probably the question.
Absolutely. And I've had to learn a lot about how Solarcan works, even myself, because taking a single photo takes such a long time that sometimes learning the best way to use it or the best application of how a Solarcan can work is something that I'm learning as well, at the same time as the community is learning. The idea is for no chemicals to be used. You can take the photographic paper out and it doesn't have to be under a safe light. You can do it under a normal 60-watt room lamp or something like that. If you want to see about it, you could do it in a dark room. There's no reason not to. You just want to avoid direct sunlight. Direct sunlight will quickly destroy the photographic paper. However, a lot of people in the photographic industry or the film photographic industry, which I'm going to assume there's a lot of people here watching the video ask the question, well, what if I do want to fix the image? What if I do want
And in fact, Jonathan Russell has literally written that in. Can chemicals be used to stop the paper reacting with light?
Exactly. It's not something I put out to the community because I want to keep Solarcan. The idea is to keep it as simple as possible
Mm.
and not talk about chemicals, not because I don't want to scare them away, but because there's no need to get into that unless they start asking that question. Now, what some members of the community have done is a 10-minute fix, a 5-minute wash, and then another 5-minute fix, and then another 5-minute wash after that. And that has pretty much fixed the image.
Okay.
Initially, I was worried that a chemical process hadn't taken place prior to that with the development, because no development takes place. So you don't want to put any developing paper chemicals onto the photographic paper. You just go straight to fix and then to wash. Fix and wash, fix and wash a couple of times. And I can't say for certain, but in the interest of your community there, I will say that my community, the ones that have tried this, have been successful with that.
Yeah, I like to think of it as one community, one happy, as you say, gateway drug into film photography. Now that's an interesting point as well. So there's no developer needed. Sun's mark on the paper is.
So that's right. So this is the only example. Actually, I've probably got other examples that I could get out, but this one's hand. It will come out like this and be under light, like I have here, and you will not be destroying the photographic image. Even if you put it into a scanner, a scan will use light, and that won't destroy the photographic paper.
What about a scammer? Will a scammer destroy the photo?
I think a scammer may.
Okay.
Okay, but what is then the difference between the paper that you will use for darkroom printing and the paper that's inside the Solarcan? Ta-da!
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, then I don't get it.
So what happens if you develop a Solarcan image in developer?
It will just completely disappear.
No,
Yeah.
that would be a shame.
Well, because
Imagine.
like, oh my god, I've waited 6 months for this moment. I'll quickly develop it. Oh, hang on. That's those scammers.
So the idea is you use you're using photographic paper, but not in the traditional way. But that is what solography is. You're solarizing that photographic
So technically, is it exposed, basically?
paper. Yeah, you're still exposing it, but over a much longer period of time. Traditionally, with photographic paper, you're concerned with the latent image. That's the image that you can't see, that you have to reveal through development and fixing, etc. This is what you don't have to do because it's right there on the photographic paper as it comes out.
So what you've just done is you've, and actually Graham's just written this, so we can all make Solarcans ourselves, smiley face. You've just given away all your trade secrets, Stella.
Absolutely.
But I remember this. I remember this really clearly from your Kickstarter because there are certain people in the wider world who I know have trolled you at various times by saying
Really?
that it's this you're charging money for things you can make yourself. But then you go back to your Kickstarter and it was literally a line in your Kickstarter that said, this is what I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create an easy thing that's pre-made that you can give to your kid that's lovely made and you can guarantee the quality. Please just make it yourself if you're up for it, kind of thing.
Absolutely. The idea is a lot of people don't have dark rooms at home. They just want an experiment to use. They might have an idea or want to experiment with pinhole photography. And when I first tried making a Solarcan, I wasn't sure what I was doing. I knew what the workshop technique was, getting an old beer can and gaffer tape and old photographic paper, but there were so many questions that were left unanswered, and I just went with it. And it is as simple as it sounds, and it actually worked. And I wanted to answer that and make something very simple for people. And people say, I can make one of them on my own. I say, that's really nice. Well, please do make one. Please. This isn't for you then. This is perhaps you have a friend that you want to get into photography and you want to buy it for them or something like that. So it's got its place.
No, and I think that's fair, and I think that I mean that's also true of
Well,
so
it is
many.
the same thing. Like if someone says something about you, why you're charging for coffee if you can do it yourself? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things like that, and
It's not.
also the you know, like there's also like the pre-exposed films that you can get. It's technically possible to sit in a dark room and do it yourself. It's technically possible to develop yourself, yet you still pay for development at Silverpan or whoever you whichever lab, or Photographique, whichever lab you use, because what you're providing is a product. No, I always enjoyed it because I remember again seeing people comment on you, and your response is always to link them to the part where in your Kickstarter you say you can make this for free. I don't know how many Kickstarters would say that. So yeah, and then people actually we've got a whole host of people who are helping your sales pitch, saying it comes in a nice box with a beautiful
That's
leaflet.
a good point. Rachel said not everyone wants to buy a whole box of photographic paper, which is like £100. I mean, well, not £100, but 5x7, a box of 100 sheets. How much would it be?
Yeah.
Sam?
A 5x7 box for 100 is about £25, £30, I think. It depends.
Yeah.
For 5x7, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and also the thing is, you, as you're demonstrating, you also have to drink the beer that makes the Solarcan. So
exactly.
that's the good thing. You don't just get a
That's
camera.
good.
You don't get a camera. You get a recyclable drinking receptacle. It's the most eco-friendly thing ever. So talk us through. So I think, judging from the comments, quite a few people are familiar with Solarcan, which is wonderful, and use them, which again is absolutely lovely. Talk us through how it happened. So you heard this, you tried it out, you thought this is a lovely thing to do. It is not too complicated. At what point did you think, great, I'm going to create a brand? And I love your brand, by the way. I love it. The logo is truly gorgeous because you did it first and it's iconic, and then it's recognizable, and then immediately when you know what a Solarcan is, it links. You created a brand, you created a business, you did a Kickstarter. I think a lot of us try stuff at home, try stuff in photography, and would never think to do that jump. What prompted you to say this is worth kickstarting?
It was December the 20th, 2016, and a friend on Twitter was making his own beer can solography cameras out of gaffer tape, etc. And I thought, I've been seeing these for a good decade. It's about time I made one. So I went out and I bought the cheapest beer possible. And it was actually, the beer was so bad I poured it away. It was like Sainsbury's own brand, 20 pence beer, but it made things cheap. And I made my own, and I made 8 because it came in an 8-pack, obviously. And they looked quite smart. And I thought, you know what? It's close to Christmas. I gave them away for Christmas to like my...
Wait, hang on a sec. So on the 20th of December, you thought, I still have people I need to get presents for, and you went and bought Sainsbury's cheap beer and thought, I can't give them just cheap beer. This is what happened.
I was 5 days early in buying Christmas presents.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, I usually wait till Christmas Eve at least. And I gave them away, and they were a hit. People thought, that's a fun idea. This is great. And I thought, you know what? These could sell. And so I went back to the shops and I bought some Foster's cans. So I really upped the quality of this. And I drank the beer.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah.
And I used some special tape around them, and I made them look really smart. And I put them on Etsy for sale, very cheap on Etsy. And guess how many I sold?
How many?
None.
I thought you guys...
Not a single one.
None. And that's why he went bigger. Wait a minute, what? Hang on.
And I thought, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because this is great fun. I mean, maybe I'm not explaining myself properly. So it almost became a sort of marketing exercise to prove myself right. I thought, I'm going to set aside, as I've told people before, 1 week and £100 to make a prototype. It took 4 months and £5,000 to make the very first Solarcan. Wow. Because I had to buy so much stuff, and it was such a steep learning curve, and there were so many things that I hadn't accounted for to make the very first one.
And sorry for interrupting. I'm assuming because this is again, it's brilliant to get the insight into how these kind of things come into being.
Mm.
I think the easy thing to do is to look at the finished product on the website and the product and say, "Oh, that's brilliant. That must have been." So, 1 week, £100, and presumably your time and salary are input into a family budget. So I'm assuming this was a discussion with your good wife and saying, don't worry, 1 week, £100, we're going to be millionaires of this idea. And that turned into 4 months of £5,000. Was that a realization 2 days in that you'd underdone it? Or was it you got to the end of the week and you thought, if I just actually spend another week and a bit more money, it'll be even better? And like, how did that turn from one into the other?
Well, gosh, I have a long list because I documented this day by day or like hour by hour as I was coming across problems, etc. I've got a very long Google Doc somewhere. Google Doc.
Say that carefully.
Or how to say that? There was lots of things that I came across, like how would I make the pinhole? How would I attach the lid to how would I do this? The answer is remarkably simple, and the machine is right behind me actually, but at the time it was impossible. It was either like invent something yourself or go to a manufacturing plant that does 6,000 a minute, and there was nowhere in between. That particular problem was solved by a survivalist expert, someone who, makes his own food tins, his own beans, etc., and makes his own food. But that cost a lot of money to buy a machine that did that. Now, only 3 years later, they're available everywhere, so it's much easier to get that. Making the label. Where am I going to get the label from? I didn't know. I'm not a craft brewer. I don't know where it is. And it's also got to be a label that I can take part of that label off. That tab is, etc. And as I said, I knew how Solargraphy works, but I had to do more tests. And tests generally take a long time. It's not like just take a photo. And I needed to have answers for people when they ask me questions, etc. All these different things came into being, and it was very quickly after the first week that I knew it got serious when I realised that I couldn't buy an aluminium can on its own, a virgin aluminium can on its own, and I had a pallet of 3,510. So
the fact that you even remember the 10 as well, like that's somebody who has counted every bloody can off a pallet.
And they don't come with lids.
I was going to ask you if you had to buy it separately, no?
Lids come separately, and lids come on a pallet, the lowest quantity possible of 227,000. I distinctly remember spending 2 weeks really weighing up the pros and cons of buying 227,000 lids just for the one. I found someone who was very kind and gave me 3 sleeves, which was about 1,800. That's still a lot. But at one point, I thought I might just be buying, this ridiculous amount. But all these things.
I like the way that you said pros and cons of buying 200,000 cans. Like, on the plus side, we could make a shed. On the downside, it would rust. Okay. And at what point did you decide, or was there any point when you thought it would be easier to become a craft brewer? Because at least I know lots of people drink beer. Do I know that there's 200,000 people who want a Solarcan? Did that ever cross your mind?
I don't think it ever did cross my mind, actually. Not that sort of thing. It was always, I'd quit all of my jobs. I'd quit everything that I was doing to work, and to bring in an income, I started Ubering up in Edinburgh. That's how I made ends meet, so I could make it across the finish line and make that first Solarcan. And it got so bad. I remember I've got somewhere some white labels. So instead of the clear labels that you see with Solarcan, I've got some that are white labels. And this was a mistake with the sticker maker, the label manufacturer. They sent through this picture for me to proof it, and I proofed it was okay. But of course, I thought the white was clear, and the white was actually the colour. And that was £300 of labels, and I had no money left. Absolutely no money left. So I had to like drive all weekend. Ubering is just the worst job in the world. If anyone's listening, don't do it. Don't do it. Easy money, but don't do it. But it helped me across the finish line to get where we needed to be. But I've often said to people that if you really want to succeed at something, make sure it's the only option is to succeed. So I really had
That's
to.
really wise, yeah.
I got halfway over the point. I'd spent a couple of £1,000. That was well into my savings, etc., and it had to work.
I think you one of the. I mean, there's so many questions after that. That's a brilliant story.
Yeah.
Number one, who is going to play you in the movie that they eventually make of this?
Me?
Oh, you didn't play yourself? Okay, wow. Sure. Okay. Good. That won't take long. And what I like, one of my favourite stories about you, Sam, is when I met you. I think it was the first time in person at the photography show last year. Obviously, the one that actually. And you were like, "Yeah, no, I really hope I sell some Solarcans this weekend because my mortgage payment's due next week and we don't have enough cash at the moment." And I was like,
It's very much like,
okay,
I see.
and you were just sat there like drinking a beer, like, yeah, and I was like, excellent. So
Nice to meet you, Anton. By the way,
that mentality of this has to work, you took. I think it feels like that's where you take. And again, like, I'm not being flippant. The photography show is a massive gamble, and you've talked about this with me before. You really weighed that up as well as like being there, huge potential, huge risk. You weighed it up and then you went for it. Like that feels like how you do business. Is you get to that point and you just force a decision, and then you had to sell stuff on the day because you were there.
It's not. It might sound reckless, but there is a thought process into the whole thing. So, it was a sort of a gamble in as much as here's my chance. If this works, then I know Solarcan is a long-term thing. I know it's going to be excitable. And, well, fortunately, it did work, and that we had made the right gambles. Invited you along, of course, and I thought that was a fantastic thing because then we got all the photography community to come around and see us all, and that was really nice. But, yeah, it was very, very expensive for little old me with a very small product. And it's not like the product brings in huge amounts of revenue, because the price point is so low. It's extraordinarily low. And that makes raising lots of revenue quite difficult. You have to do lots and lots of single unit sales, etc. Whereas I recall the stand next to us at the photography show was selling like these photo boards. Basically, there were pictures that the people laid on the floor that you could take photos of products on top. It was nothing I'd ever thought of, even a product existed. But these guys were selling hundreds, and their price point was up at like 50 quid for some.
It's basically HD printed acrylic on a frame. Yeah.
And she was doing really well because she had a much higher price point as well. And but yeah, I've always been very conscious of that, and it worked.
I mean, I'm sorry if it came across like that. I definitely don't think of it as reckless. I think it's definitely courageous. I think you take that decision point to a level that I think a lot of people would be too uncomfortable with. I think giving up all your jobs, you said, I mean, we can come back to that in a minute, all your jobs to make a project that you thought was a week, it's going to be 4 months, you end up picking up an entire new side gig Ubering just to fulfill it. That feels like things that are, as I say, outside the comfort zone of most people. Turning up to a trade show, I didn't think it was reckless in that I also sat there and thought you are going to sell some because it definitely will. But it's still more uncomfortable than probably most people would do. Do you feel that when you're making decisions that you're approaching it with either a different mentality or a different level of bravery, for want of a better word, a financial risk than most people?
Oh gosh, I do spend a lot of time thinking before I blurt out an idea or something like that. It's probably why people know me will say I get defensive when I do say an idea and I get a quick snippet back of why don't you have you thought about this? Well, yeah, because I've really thought this through in the first place. But I guess I've been down this road in other industries before or other ventures that I've been in, and I sometimes ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that could have happened is I'd have to carry on Ubering, which was, I guess that was a pretty bad thing. Or I'd have to try something else and get myself out of debt. But I always remember there's people that are worse off, that would be struggling, and I'm lucky to be in a position that I'm in to be able to even consider doing something like this, and sometimes just going for it because I don't want to regret. I'll tell you a story.
Yes, please do.
Right, which needs my thing. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So when I was like a teenager, I was banging to a type of music called happy hardcore. Many of your guests there will groan and say, "Oh my good grief!" So Hixie, Psy, Slipmat, that sort of thing. So very fast, cheesy dance music. And one of the top DJs, Darren Style, wrote to me because I sent him a mixtape of music of his that I sent to him, and I was 16 years old. And he wrote to me. No, he didn't. No, he phoned me with the mixtape playing in the background, and he invited me up to his studio. And I never went. And I've always regretted never going to this, like the top DJ of the genre that I loved, which is cheesy. I do recognize that, but I never went, and I've always regretted not going. And it's made me think twice about saying no to anything or putting something off or not going ahead with a venture like that because fear of missing out, I guess.
Yeah, that is an incredible story. So why didn't you go?
Exactly.
Well, because other things to do, work to do. Oh God, yeah. Just the same money, the same excuses anyone ever gives you. There's always the same excuses. When my friends say they can't do something because of money.
Yeah.
You need a better excuse than money. Really need a better excuse.
No, that's fascinating. I think.
So Sam, would you say to people that, for example, wants to do, like, they have an idea and really want to do it, would you say to them, like, look, if you really have passion, or if you really are focused on to really do that project that you have, you're gonna end up succeeding? Do you think that is it the right thing to think about, or what do you think about it?
A good practice to have, I think, is to keep a group of close friends. So if you reveal the idea, you reveal it to your close friends who are there to support you, not people who tell you this isn't going to work, or that's not going to work, or this is silly, or just do something else, or be a normal person, or go and get a job at the council, or something like that. I think I kept 4 friends that I told them the stages that I was going through to get there. So you don't reveal the product or what you've done until you've actually got there, because that whole process, and you believe me, the process of turning a beer can pinhole camera into a commercial product is going to get a lot of people saying, that's a silly idea, etc. So if something you believe in, you get it over the... Did
someone say to you like that? Did any of your friends?
No, because I didn't reveal the idea. I didn't reveal it until it was ready to be revealed, until I'd done all the thinking behind and all the process to get it to a stage where it was ready. And then suddenly I surprised everyone with it, and I was pleasantly surprised myself with the response that I got from my friends. And
there you go.
What was lovely, and I noticed with the Kickstarter, was that so many people backed it who weren't sure what they were backing. They had some sort of idea, but they saw a product that looked really beautiful and nice, and they wanted to hold it. It was at a price point that was affordable. and they liked my enthusiasm behind it. They backed it and they supported it, and it was nice in that respect.
That's one of my fears for how Kickstarter seems to have changed in the last year or so, is that the number of people who seem to have been burned by it. I worry that the people who there said, this guy looks like a decent chap, the product looks at worst thing and beautiful, it's not going to break the bank, this is exactly the sort of thing that is worth a punt. This is exactly what Kickstarter was designed for. Giving 20 quid, how much the entry level was, between 10 and 50, I'm going to guess, was probably the range. Giving it that amount of money to somebody who seems to really care and has come up with a new idea. And then, do you still get that feel from Kickstarter? Would you feel that if you were going to do it from now, you'd get the same response, or do you think Kickstarter has changed?
I think I get a bigger response now because there's a bigger user base. I think I get the same sort of people responding. However, I think Kickstarter as a whole has grown significantly, and there's a great number of companies and enterprises that are gaming that system and just taking a product and spending £2,000 on a very flashy video and turning that into £1 million. And that's a great business idea, a great business model for them, but it's lost that sort of craft quality, that crowdfunding quality. And for astute users of Kickstarter, they'll recognize these products immediately. They'll think, come on, this is just something you've knocked off a traditional idea and are just spreading it to a new audience. But I think I get the same people, but I think the environment of Kickstarter has got bigger. The bigger parts of it aren't quite as pure as they once were when Kickstarter, the original crowdfunding platform, started.
Yeah.
And when you had your product ready, the Solarcan, you have the Solarcan, how did you feel? Did you feel like confidence? Like, look, yeah, I'm going to do it and this is going to succeed because my name is Sam. How did you feel?
Gosh. No, because when the product was complete, it wasn't complete for me. I had to take product photographs of it, so it had to be transferred onto the screen properly. It was one thing having a nice thing that I could hold in my hand, but it was another thing to have just a simple image that sold that product. And arguably, as important as making it was making it look nice on a single square image. That could transfer well. And so I spent a few evenings messing around with just styles. I took inspiration from Wired magazine, the way they do their product photography, to make my own. And I made several, and then that is when I felt this is good. This looks good because I'm looking at it as on a screen and it looks good. More just on the dining room table, etc. So that's when I felt that I was ready to press the launch on the Kickstarter.
I'm just gonna pull up actually. We've got the hopefully do a nifty little screen share thing because I've got the Kickstarter background. There we go. So you're talking about the blue and yellow image, is that right?
Well, there's several images if you scroll down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, boss. Absolutely.
The blue and yellow one, I think, was the right fit for the video.
Then we've got the one on the normal. You can see some sample examples. Oh, the red and the blue. Yeah.
The best, the one I was happiest with the 4 colours and the clear one as well. The one that was just white.
Yeah, there we go. This is the one. I think the one with 4 colours is the one I think we use on the product site on Analogue Wonderland because I think it's a very aesthetically pleasing image in and of itself. Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone would like to do some product photography for send me a message because they really need refreshing. The only refreshed ones I've got are with my pet chickens, and I seem to need a bit more variety than that. So just drop me a line and.
I love your chicken. What's your chicken called?
Chainsaw.
What was it saying?
Chainsaw.
Yeah, of course, because that was the chainsaw the chicken. Yeah.
Chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Okay.
We've had a really good question about international, but I think there's a bit of a conversation that I think we can have a widen out, and it's time for something first. We have got to that point where it is time to turn the tables quite specifically on you. You've been telling us, there we go, lovely. You got a dramatic light. Hopefully, Marina has some kind of dramatic jacket. It is time to find out, how well does Solarcan Sam know Solarcan Sam?
Okay, just give a minute.
I'm going to bow out and then do my normal thing where I forget to keep count of the score and then make it up at the end. Sam, how do you feel? Do you feel nervous?
Very, very nervous because I should know all these answers, but having watched these in previous weeks, yes, I'm very nervous.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Day is by far and away smashed it. He could answer follow-up bonus questions to it. It was incredible. But yeah, also you mentioned just before we went live that you have a very old video blog. I'm really hoping to find that was linked to you somehow. It's going to be like, in 2003, which video game did you spend 20 hours playing? Oh, look at this. Oh, round of applause for the jacket. Right, Marina, over to you.
Today I have a different outfit, a little bit more summery, despite the bad weather here in the UK.
It's very Tiger King. I like it.
Yeah, it's like inspired by Joe Exotic. Anyway, right, so Sam, are you ready for it? So, how well you know Solarcan? The first question would be, and I want to know the precise name. What brand of beer did you use to make your first Solarcan prototype?
I'm pretty sure it was Sainsbury's own brand. The first one, or the second one was Foster's. So first one was Sainsbury's. I'm pretty sure it was Sainsbury's own brand.
Uh-huh. Was it like a dark beer? Was it?
It was orange and white and.
Well, I'm going to say that this is correct. Yeah, can we say that this is correct? Yeah, it is indeed Sainsbury lager beer that you use, which is called Basic, and I had to find. So I spent literally 15 20 minutes to find what was the brand, because you have on your Instagram a picture of your first prototype, but all the labels were covered by tapes, and I was like, okay. And I was on Google, okay, beer, orange, blue, UK. But yeah, anyway, so the second question is, okay, so 2 years ago, Sam, you built the incredible Solarcan matrix, which, for the people who don't know, it was an experiment consisted on a wooden frame that holds 27 Solarcans in an array. And I think it is considered to be the first Solstice to Solstice Solargraphy time-lapse, right? But do you remember what were the unexpected results happened after you scanned all the photographic papers from the Solarcans?
I remember some of the weeks were very unusual. Week 3, I remember. If you're talking about week 3, I don't know. But week 3 was someone had twisted the Solarcan like.
That was because someone did a vandalism.
Yes.
But
yeah.
It's something to do with papers?
Oh. So the photographic paper.
Out of time. So close.
Do I have a time limit?
Okay, so I'm just going to literally read what you've written on your blog post. So, despite every sheet taken from the same brand new box of burger, there was a significant difference in color on 4 of the sheets. So, yeah. So you didn't use Ilford on that moment, right?
No, they were always using burger paper, which is fairly similar, a little bit thinner. The emulsions are slightly less on the burger than it is the Ilford. But yes, I do remember that the photographic papers, they were.
Now you remember.
Too late for a point.
Okay.
Right, good experiment.
So let's go to the third question. So, well, your project it is a true representation of a success story. In fact, I think you already sold more than, I think, 5,000 units, I guess. But by how much do you think that you exceeded the initial goal that you set in your Kickstarter?
Percentage or by pounds?
Pounds.
Was my original goal 2,000 or 2,500?
2,500, Sam.
Exceeded it by 22,520.
I'm going to say correct, but it's 22,550. But yeah, let's say that.
Oh,
Whoa.
hang on a minute. What noise should I make? So that.
Like.
I know.
That's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, there we
go. Wow, but that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Good
wow.
response.
Good, really good response. Right. So the fourth one. So where's the furthest place in the world that one of your Solarcan has been set up?
That we've had them set up in New Zealand, in Australia, and the Arctic Circle in Finland. There's one currently set up in Senja in North Norway. We've had several in Alaska.
Alaska, yeah.
Yeah, so
I got it. Yeah.
All right, hang on. Applause.
Wow, New Zealand.
Yeah, there's been a few in the Arctic Circle as well, which are really interesting because they capture both the full day, where the sun doesn't set, and also the rising sun, where the sun first starts coming above the horizon as well. So it's very interesting.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay, so we talked about the furthest place, but what about what is the longest exposure time that has been done with one of your Solarcans, and where was installed?
Well, I think this was fairly recent. There was one by Elsa, who hers was up for over 2 years, I think. And she would have been in Denham. That would have been in Denham.
In Scotland, right?
Yes, in Scotland.
Perfect. Well, it was 2 years and a half.
Oh, hang on.
Sorry, Paul. Okay, so 3 out of 5. Yeah, well done.
Hey, that's nice.
That's really good.
Good job. 3 out of 5 is very strong. There's people saying you should have got one on the Falcon rockets or get it onto Space 1X.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we can talk about that because a photographer called Tom Cross, I got in touch with him. He takes photographs of the Falcon 9 rockets, etc., and SpaceX stuff. And I asked him, is a shuttle launch, because I've never seen one in person, is it as bright as the sun? And he said, yes, absolutely as bright as the sun. So let's set up a Solarcan. So he set up 2 Solarcans, one vertical, one horizontal, doing at the Falcon 9 rocket. And it didn't catch the trail of the rocket because it's not bright enough. The sun is much brighter than the rocket launch.
However, you sued him for false.
No, absolutely not. It was sort of a research project to see what happened, experiment, and it didn't. But it's nice to know that I've got a Solarcan image of a Falcon 9 rocket because it's still standing there as a silhouette, and it was the one that went up before the Falcon Heavy, which is lovely. And you see the sun's pass behind the Solarcan rocket. And about going up into space, lots of people have said you should get one on the International Space Station. Yeah,
and actually, F. Watson's pointed out that you would need very strong Gorilla Tape, though.
If it's on
if it's on the rocket.
Yeah, but one has been sent to space. Yeah.
Really?
So well, to the what is classed as space on a helium balloon. So space. Some people class space above 50 kilometers. So a guy who runs something called OLHZN balloons sends up balloons up into outer space or as close to the edge of our atmosphere as possible. Set Solarcan up. He installed it wrong.
Oh,
But
really?
it got an image, but it's not one I've ever felt shareable, because I know we could do so much better than what we did. But one has been to space.
So what happened? It was facing in? No, surely not.
No, because it was the summer solstice. He sent it up. He installed it. This is interesting for anyone who's thinking about installing Solarcan. He installed it vertically like this, and vertically means sun that's high won't reach the photographic paper inside. So you either tilt it so it can reach the or turn it sideways. And if you turn it sideways, it will capture a high point of sun.
That is so frustrating.
Install it horizontally, I said, and he went, okay, and installed it like this. It did capture an image and some of the sun's path dotting around this thing, but the majority of the image is some cornfield where it landed.
Oh,
that is such a shame. So the question that was coming up just before we stopped for Marina's excellent quiz, international shipment. So people have asked a little bit about can you ship internationally? Do they get crushed? Do they get CAT scanned? Is that a problem? Gemma just jumped in saying, no, was it Gemma? No, Rachel, sorry, jumped in saying, no, you ship them internationally. So international shipments, can you just do a quick summary? You can send them, they're fine. Anything that you need to worry about for people?
I ship with Royal Mail, and I've been shipping internationally for £4 anywhere for a single Solarcan, or £10 for any.
What's the...
Yeah. I've taken some of that cost in.
Yeah.
So, and I've been able to afford that. Things are going to change in 1 month's time, which has really got me worried, which we can chat about if you want.
Hang on. Now, for example, if you want to ship something to the United States, but the price has increased like double. I think it's like
triple, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
No?
For me, it's at least doubled. But it will start on the 1st of July, this doubling in price, and it's really going to affect my sales. So I'm working on, rather than getting a different shipping service, distribute in America, in the USA. And I have a meeting tomorrow with a very nice gentleman who is going to be able to fulfill the orders that I get in the UK, so I can buy back and get them to ship them around the UK. Someone asked about, do they get crushed in shipping?
Or CAT scan?
No.
Yeah, so damaged is the concern.
So scanning, X-ray scanning, etc., it's not going to destroy it, because it's still not as strong as the sun, so it's not going to destroy it. However, I did come across a problem in the first year or so that I could not figure out, and lots, when they were arriving abroad, were arriving a bit crushed, looked damaged, and I couldn't figure it out, and it really wound me up. It took a while, and I had to do my own test flying to Paris and back. Would you believe? Okay. And if the Solarcan gets put in the cabin, the atmospheric pressure is so different, it compresses. And
of course.
That's why.
Because, well, when you remove the black tab when you get home, it just inflates again and it's fine. But this could cause a problem shifting the photographic paper around in front of the pinhole, which is why I didn't invent, but from my old computer engineering career, we use these little cable ties, these cable tie holders here. So now, if you've used a Solarcan before, you'll recognise these, because there's one inside which holds the paper and holds the paper there, so it can't twist around when you open it. So that's the reason we put them in now, to avoid that happening. So if it does, that sort of thing does happen when it goes abroad, that we can fix it. However, I have just changed. I'll grab something to show you. Yeah, here's Solarcan, by the way. The retail package, very nice. There's no plastic.
Oh, and does it come in just the one colour, Sam, or are there?
No, there's 5 colours.
Wow, to collect.
5 colours. So with ones that go internationally, I've changed slightly. So it does include a black tab, but I've left see, there's a label there. like this.
Clever.
So it leaves the pinhole clear, so air can breathe, come in and out. So that, and so people can put the black tab on when it arrives at the destination to stop this happening. There's a little explainer of why it's there to make sense.
And that's a great example of costs that you didn't expect to have to do, flying to Paris and back.
And yeah, I went for Paris Photo, but I thought I'd use this as an experiment as well. So I took Solarcan with me. But yes, that was something I hadn't expected.
No, that's really interesting.
Sorted it out in the end, because there's all these problems that, you know, once I had the product made, there were still things to learn. Problems that would come up, say, why is this happening? But there we go. So,
I'm a bit intrigued. So how many pieces of equipment do you need to use for one single Solarcan to be fully complete?
there's 13 steps.
What?
13.
Okay.
So you take the aluminium, so I get people to come in and they pay for the experience to make their own Solarcan. So you take aluminium can, then you put the label on it, so that's one step. Then you make the pinhole, 2 steps. Then you make sure the pinhole's deburred, 3 steps. Then you put the clip in, 4 steps. Then you put the lid on, and then you seal it, that's 5 steps. Then you have to put the serial number on the bottom because they're all numbered. We're on 8,000 now or something like that. So they all have
8,000.
And then you have to put the cable ties in the lids. That is very, very difficult. See the lid, the cable ties there inside the lid? Yeah.
Do you know that we not often, but it's happened more than once, people have emailed us saying cable ties didn't come with the product.
Check the lid. I get it as well. I don't know. This is a problem I do not know how to solve.
No, it's genius. It's genius. Like, I think people are getting used to, well, I think there's a lot of things that have seen, the packaging almost being over-engineered. And what you've done is you've kept the packaging minimal and just fit things in lovely.
The original ones were sort of manila tube with plastic lids and red tape on the top. And they were ugly. They were really, really ugly. And I wanted to avoid using plastic packaging. So I spent more money on these tubes. Yeah. It's called telescopic cardboard tubes. I have a supplier in the UK who makes them for me. No,
it's interesting because when we, you were one of the people who, when we were, because we had our own Analogue one lamp packaging when we launched, and we've evolved it fairly recently. And you were the one who always used to give me grief whenever you got anything that had any plastic in it, just saying, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "We're working on it." But that's been something right from the start, isn't it? You've been trying to minimise constantly, and even the plastic ties I know annoy you. That you're trying to find a way of getting rid of that as well.
Yeah, I have some steel cable ties which I can use, and they are fantastic. They are really, really strong, but they are impossible to cut. So it's sort of me, they stay there forever. But I need to find a nice, a sort of middle ground that's affordable. There are some companies, and it does. I had to buy more cable ties today. I just bought another 5,000 today. But there are some companies that do solutions, and if I can find affordable variation, what would be ideal is a reusable cable tie. So after people have used it, they can take it home and use it for anything else. Put it in their box of ticky-tackies to use.
Well, Graham said that actually he lost his cable ties. He put them down and his wife tidied them up. So he's ended up using gaffer tape. Exactly, which I think is fair. So when we talk about Solarcan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch to your Solarcan flicker and just show people some examples. Again, a lot of people have seen them, but I think what I love about what people can do is the way you've talked about it. It feels like a very simple photographic exercise. We need to talk about Solarcan Day as well. Why that is so important. But actually, when you look at Flickr, the things that people have done with them is amazing. You've already mentioned, like, you go really far north or south and you'll get really strange effects where the sun doesn't set properly. You've got people who use reflections or silhouettes. You've got I think Adam from Double Film, Adam Scott, who this one here, where he rotated it
Yeah. I think that was a 6-week exposure, but halfway through he turned it over, and it's still one of the most beautiful images. That might end up on the packaging when I redo the packaging.
Yeah, it's just incredible the variety that you get from something that seems quite simple. I remember as well, was it somebody who did Morse Code?
Oh yeah, James Lucas or Rab Alston on Twitter or Instagram. Yeah, he built a contraption which opened and shut the lens on the front of the Solarcan, and he wrote Solarcan in Morse code on a day's worth of sun. And I mean, it doesn't get better than that, really.
That is absolutely amazing. So here we have DLO Lauren Davis taking a Solarcan on board a UK frigate. So there you've got waves, tides,
oscillations. How cool is that? So you see the oscillations of the days. So she said that was up for about 3 months.
Hang on. Let's pause for a minute here. This is oscillations of the sun across the sky. So that can't be waves because that's...
No, it is. It's like, it's a big boat, so it's a frigate. Okay. So it doesn't move like a normal little boat does. The rocks
are long enough to be caught on the sun.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
beautiful. Really beautiful.
There is a good question here, which is there any different kinds of photographic papers, like a more sensitive one or something to catch the rocket launch flash or maybe fireworks?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
No. If you were to develop it, traditional developing methods, so use it and then take it into a dark room and develop it, then yes, it would work with much dimmer light like stars or fireworks, etc., that sort of thing. But no, not photographic paper, because remember, we're not using it in the very traditional sense. We're not concerned with the latent image. So for a photograph, the photographic paper to be discolored, the light has to be shining on it for a long time or be very, very powerful. But you don't have to use the photographic paper that I'm using. You can use all sorts of different photographic papers. They don't all work. So fiber-based photographic papers I've found tend to not work. Resin-coated would do. Color photographic paper, no good. Use black and white photographic paper. And direct positive doesn't work. I'm afraid I've given that a go.
You said black and white, so there's clearly colour in these images.
Absolutely, yeah. But as I'll get.
That's a good question. Yeah.
You see, this is black and white paper.
Yeah.
Being solarized, and you'll see. I mean, it's not black and white.
Okay.
So black and white paper, when it solarizes a different colour.
Okay.
So this is getting away from this isn't normal photography. Solarizing is not the normal impact of photons hitting a chemical, reacting in black and white, and then you develop it to get the image. This is not that chemistry.
No, it's not. No. So you're not getting your traditional black and white image.
And there's some beautiful photos there. I went through Flickr as you were talking, where you do get silhouettes, but you also get some detail on the housing. So again, I suppose 6 months of the same thing will still get an image eventually. Or could.
Absolutely. Yeah. The way I explain it is you've got to remember where light is coming from. It's all about understanding light for very basic photographer's instinct. If the floor or the buildings around you are white, they will reflect a lot more sunlight. If there's glass or there's water, that will reflect sunlight and it will show up in the image, etc. So yeah, it's really as basic as that.
Graham Simpson said he lives opposite a petrol station and is hoping that the ambient lighting gives some great images, adds a little bit of extra detail. So do you have that where people aim? Maybe ask a different question. What do you recommend people aim it at then? So you have the curve of the sun.
Yes.
Do you think that the best results come when you put something in front of it? When you think it's near a nighttime light source, a reflection? What's worked best?
The most impressive traditional Solarcan images, because I think experimentation is really fun, trying to do something that people haven't done before or trying something new. But the most impressive standard ones are reflections. With reflections, so big windows, big glass, or water, etc. That sort of thing.
So do you think that if you, for example, you set up a Solarcan for, let's say, I don't know, like a few months inside a room, you think that would come out something?
If there's sunlight coming into that room and reflecting and bouncing around the room.
Huh?
But not really without it. No, not really, because there wouldn't be enough light passing into a room. It's not latent image.
I've just found one as well on your Flickr from Morrow Grant, who installed it on a children's swing.
Yes.
You still get a gradient of the sun, but you get these amazing squiggles that go in and out that someone using it.
I mean, that's fun because people are, experimenting and just it ticks the art box for me. So I'm very interested in contemporary art and photography and astronomy. It ticks those 3 boxes for me. And
you get a lot of this seems to sit as a product between film photography and astronomy, which I can't think of many that do. And I know as well, I follow your personal Instagram, and you have photos of the moon and things like that. You love astronomy as well as for film photography, right? Like as a personal thing.
Yes.
Is that what you think led this to be your business, your brand, your idea? Was the fact that it mirrored or matched those 2 things?
100%. Absolutely. If I tell the story about Solarcan and where it came from, and the long form version of that story, it started with a photo of the transit of Venus across the face of the sun from Fox Hunter's grave in 2012, which I was awarded Astrophotographer of the Year.
Hang on a minute.
Really? Wow.
Well, I wasn't expecting applause, but that's that award, which was lovely. I didn't really think I deserved it. I really liked the picture. It really spurred me along and gave me the confidence to go out and do more astronomy work and start visiting and volunteering at an observatory where I started working and eventually became the art director. And it basically led me to becoming Solarcan, where Solarcan is today. So that's the point. It started being successful in that regard because it gave me the confidence to carry on.
And do you, there's a question about bigger cans. As you look to the future, so we've had, so when did you, so it's 2016, did you say, or 2018?
Yeah, 2016.
December. Yeah.
So when did the Kickstarter close and this became a standalone business?
April 2017.
2017, okay, so we've had 3 years of Solarcan. What's the next, and you've said you've tried coloured paper. I know that you were experimenting with that a while ago. What is the goal, the vision, the next product, the next idea? Or is it just expansion of the current sort of product to more?
No, there's 2 more products. There is a final, if you want to talk millennial terms, there is a roadmap, and there is a final product on that roadmap.
I'm too old to understand millennial talk. I'm sorry. I know I have the face of a 12-year-old, but that's no, it's okay.
I'm older than you, Paul. Come on. But there is a final product on that roadmap which we're leading to. I won't elaborate on that, but there is an in-between stage, and it's something called Solarcan Colors, which is going to be another Kickstarter, which is practically ready, but because of coronavirus, I haven't launched it. It was meant to have been launched already. I wanted to launch it on the 3-year anniversary, but a pesky virus got in the way, etc. But the idea is to create a trio of Solarcan, which use very specific, and I've tested dozens, hundreds of different types of photographic paper to create 3 very, very distinctive styles of Solarcan results, just by having different photographic paper inside and rejigging the color of the labels, etc., to make them look really nice. So that will be, there you go, that's a little exclusive for you, but not something I've released yet, but it's ready to go, ready to pull the trigger on and launch, but I just feel that it has to be done at the right time.
No, that's interesting. And Yeah, Shirley has quite rightly called you out for saying the C word.
He said the
We
C
don't
word.
say the C word. Country
Oh,
file.
sorry.
We didn't hear anything. Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. We'll move on.
I also want.
Do you know when that? So that's brilliant because you're in the lovely position then of presumably having everything sort of ready to go. Do you know at what point or what? Because this isn't going to be a magical overnight. Things will go back to normal situation. What do you think will happen for you to be like, okay, now is the good time?
Well, at the moment, we've got this run up to Solarcan Day,
Mm-hmm.
and you might have noticed on Instagram that I'm very busy, really busy with social media and speaking to people. And so I'm concentrating on that at the moment,
Okay.
concentrating on if you like, the Solarcan Classic and keeping that going there because that's still interesting. People are still discovering it and they're still learning about photography, etc. So I can continue pushing that and getting excited about that and helping grow that community before I dilute it with this extra product.
Not dilute, add on. So Solarcan Day, why is it so exciting? When I think about installing a Solarcan, why would I want to do it on Solarcan Day, aka summer solstice?
Yeah, less commonly known.
Exactly, yes. In niche
solstice.
circles, referred to as the solstice.
Well, that's the Solarcan is about learning astronomy and the seasons, etc., where the sun is in the sky. And on the summer and winter solstice, it's at opposite ends of the sky. So on the summer solstice, which is the June the 21st, the sun is at the very, very highest point. December the 21st, very, very lowest point. Incidentally, the solstice, I think, occurs on the 20th this year. However, there was a reason. I think it's elevated slightly higher on the 21st. So we've gone for the 21st of Solarcan Day. And why shouldn't I commercialise the last remaining day in the year?
I must admit, like, you probably struggle in December 21st to get people to recognise. Whereas June... well, I mean, there is obviously stuff going on with June and Pride Month and things like that. But yeah, it's a bit of an easier commercial sell than December the 21st.
Yeah, seriously, the jokes aside about commercial, because I think that I'm only joking when I say that. I think it's really fun because I was always excited about the solstice. You know, being an astronomer, astronomers are excited about the solstice because it's a point in the astronomical calendar. But there's really nothing to celebrate. There's nothing fun to do. So now when the solstice comes around, I go and walk up a big hill, install a Solarcan or take one down or just do something special. Or
You don't meet, well, obviously not now, but you don't meet your fellow astronomer friends and like high five and are like, guys, it's solstice day. This is so cool.
I do.
The sun is never higher than right now, ever.
It's great. It's lovely.
But you know what, Sam? I mean, it's a true fact. For example, I left my Solarcan for 1 year, and after I scan it, and I see the sun path, and like how the attitude, like I didn't like notice it, even though it's a thing that we see kind of every day, hopefully here in the UK when we can, like the sun, But it's a thing that I never like really paid attention to it. Like, oh yeah, in winter the sun is quite low, but it's a thing that you don't realize until you do a astronomy experiment like yours. So yeah, thanks so much.
It's lovely the way, and this didn't occur to me immediately. It was a couple of years down the line before I noticed that it gave people a sense of well-being, that they understood the world a bit more. And it's sort of, this is an unexpected turn for what it has become. It's become something that's, I believe, helps people understand the world more, and in turn has made them feel a bit better about themselves, a bit more learned, a bit more knowledgeable, and enjoying their life with it as well. So there is a well-being aspect to it as well.
Also within it, it's the common mindfulness aspect of knowing that we are small in the grand scheme of things, and knowing that the sun moves that much is a helpful thing for putting yourself into that perspective. No, that is lovely. So we talked about it as being sort of an astronomy / film photography. We haven't spent a lot of time on the film photography side, but really we should a little bit. You do also shoot, what are we going to call this now? I mean, I would normally say like I don't know, old school photography, but now we've talked about like using a pinhole to capture the sun over months. Like 35mm feels really freaking modern and sophisticated. So you're into analog photography in totality, is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's where you can scream me over and be like, what? No, I only shoot Solarcans and digital.
Yeah, I shoot everything actually.
That's a unique thing to say.
I shoot digital. Hello, wifey, in the background there.
Lucy's just joining. I think her wine glass is empty. Thursday problems.
No, I shoot digital 35mm, wet plate. I do Solarcan all the time. And experimental photography is really where my heart is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it turns up. I learned how to be a photographer. I learned my photographer's eye with a digital camera. So that gives it away. Sort of 20 years ago, I really started picking up and using a camera purposefully to create pictorial, beautiful images. I'd used cameras before and film cameras before, but they were for, you know, home ideas and parties, etc. Just the typical thing what a normal person would use a camera for, not a photographer. But as I got better, I realized that I felt like I was cheating the system, that I didn't understand. And I think this will resonate with many of the community, that I felt like I wanted to learn the basics, the fundamentals of what photography was, and film photography. And yeah, I started with Polaroid. So I bought 1,000 Polaroids and shot because I felt it really brought the idea of what photography was down to bare basics. So I couldn't focus, I couldn't change the shutter speed or anything like that. I just had to concentrate on that pictorial image. And then I developed a 35mm eventually, and 120 in large format and wet plate. And then I got ahead of me and started using non-lens based equipment. Then
hang on. I was with you from digital to Polaroid to 35mm to 120. You then said to wet plate, and as you do. I'm not sure that's the typical.
Nope.
I'm not sure many people get that far along, maybe, or even it is that way. But
it was about 2010. I discovered what wet plate was, and I met a guy called Michael Schaff, who is no longer with us, in Bristol, and I had a tutorial with him. But it was, it was fine. It was fine. But then I met a guy called Tony Richards, and if anyone is interested in wet plate, give Tony Richards of Photos, photos.co.uk, Tony Richards. Speak to him. An incredible, remarkable teacher of wet plate. There's a lot of very well-known wet plate people in the community. The community for wet plate is completely offset from the analog community, and they are real hardcore people, really, really hardcore people. They have their own weekends, their own magazines. They do their own work, their own Facebook groups. They're world-renowned. It's such a small community. You would have at least come across some of them. But he's a great person to start with. I've been friends with him since he gave me my first tutorial in my wife's backyard, somewhere up in Hull. But he comes from Manchester, so I recommend you speak to him. He'll do a full day for you for 150 quid or something like that. And it's probably the best money I've ever spent in my life. And from that, I went home and I just started shooting. I've done thousands of plates since then. So
is it true then? Was that the reason that you built your own darkroom on your caravan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd ruined a bathroom. Collodion and silver nitrate is not friendly to anything. So I drove to Bournemouth and I bought a retro £700 caravan, and I brought it home and I hacked it to pieces and I turned it into a caravan. Sorry, a darkroom.
After many days of work.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. I actually bought two. I bought one black caravan and one retro one, but the black one was so nice, I sold it again and made a bit of profit. That was nice.
I feel like we could just have another interview that's just follow-up questions like who goes and buys two caravans at once, like. How did you get them back? Like, did you put them in tandem? Like, oh, okay, yep. So you made one into a darkroom.
So the caravan worked as a dark room, so I was able to keep that outside and just go in there and do my wet plate and invite friends over. There was no business model to this. It was just something I really enjoyed. But it culminated in a trip to Laycock Abbey, where, modern photography was invented, Fox Talbot. And I took the largest ever plate photograph of the Oriel windows, so 15 by 12. And that's sold now, and there was a video documentary of all that, and that was really nice. So that was, for me, that took me to the end of my wet plate. I felt like I couldn't, I needed to do something.
The point when you have a documentary, yeah, I mean, what do you think, Marina? That's probably the point where you go.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Pretty good.
And that sold, and that was nice. But I've started doing it again with Steve from Chroma.
Yeah.
So he's developing some plate cameras, and I'm testing them, which is really nice. So I'm able to do some more in my backyard. So I might posting them online soon.
Yeah, I was talking about this with Graham the other day, that large format was going to be one of the things that I did with this spring, but I was going to meet up with people and learn more, and that's one of many things that hasn't happened. So I'll have to push it back. But it does feel like a brilliant vehicle for experimental photography. So when you're shooting 35mm, how do you express your experimental, creative, abstract sides there?
Abstract. What I say is, I mix it up between just family photographs and what I try to do, and I don't know if anyone else tries to do this, I try to create a perfect roll of film. I've been very close. I've been all but one frame before. Impossible. So you're looking at the entire contact sheet, and the entire contact sheet, every single photograph is just, fills you with joy. And the only way you can get close to it is every single image being abstract. And by abstract, I mean removing the context of what the object is. You're just looking at lines and shapes, etc. And I've got very close to completing that in a full roll of 35mm, but I've never actually achieved that.
What happens? So when you say like one frame, do you mean you missed the focus, or do you mean you missed the concept? Or
this particular one, I was in a shop somewhere in Spain, and I took a photo while it was on the conveyor belt, and I ruined that single frame. But every other frame was just a lovely, nice, abstract, bright coloured, well lit, well exposed, interesting, abstract frame. Really, yeah. That's nice to achieve, and it's also problematic as well, because sometimes you get the trigger finger problem where you're like, I can't take that photo.
Exactly, you spend a whole day in the most perfect place and be like, no, nothing was never quite right. So when you aim for a perfect, this is an amazing idea. I love this.
Yes.
When you aim for a perfect roll, are you staying within it?
Wonderland.
You what say?
Do it with Analogue Wonderland. I think people would love that.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I absolutely love it. I've never heard of the concept.
I actually want to do it myself.
Yeah. So
the perfect roll.
The closest idea I'd had was one thing that I wanted to do last year, and I didn't get round to it, but it's still on my list, is to shoot a comic strip with slide film. So you basically create a scene that you then, every frame is a scene from a comic strip, because then you can display it on a because these days all the hospital stuff is iPad screens and digital screens, where it used to be the light box mounted on the wall. I want to buy a light box that you mount on the wall, like they used to have for the X-rays, and then you can display a comic strip of 36 things. That would require a perfect roll, but it's very contrived, or it would be very scripted versus what it sounds like you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that. Some artists have actually created, using the contact sheet format, an entire image. So, thinking ahead of how to make that entire image. So it's not an unthought of idea. It's just the perfect roll, I think, is a good goal for photographers to achieve.
I think this is brilliant. I love this. I want to, because you're right. Marina, can you imagine even calculating how to make like a
No,
portrait of a face?
I was, yeah. I was like thinking, like, okay, like, so every time you take a photo, then you have to like make notes, like for the next frame, right? Okay, like I should like in this position, this angle, and then these colors, and okay, what is going to be the next frame? Okay, the next frame should be, well, yeah, impressive, yeah.
There's so many variations and things you can
Mhm.
do, but maybe just don't overthink it too much. And
Yeah, true.
is abstract. For other people, it might be types of colors, or I mean, street photography would be the hardest. It would be impossible
Yeah.
to do perfect street photography.
True, yeah.
Hillary Clark's points out that Hamish has a hashtag Full Roll Friday feature, which I think is covers exactly that. And I think it is lovely to see someone's entire roll of film, because you can't cherry pick. You can't, the one that you took while you were working out whether it rolled on enough, or the one where you screwed up the focus. It's there to see. But I think everyone accepts that as part of just, shooting film. You never hear someone say, I'm aiming for 36 back. They're like, hey, I think there are a couple of really nice ones on that roll. I've got one that I really like. I hope it works. And you just accept that in photography, and that's not a film thing. In photography, not every time you press the shutter, you're going to get something you want to keep. But having that as a goal, even as an artistic goal rather than like some self-inflicted perfectionist thing, I think is a really interesting creative challenge.
Yeah.
I love it. Right, let's do it.
I'm going to do it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Solarcan, Analogue 1 Learn, If We Film. Perfect roll competition. Interpret as you wish. You win Solarcan's films and a lesson with Marina. Done.
Sure thing.
That's you agreed to that in the way of a man who has a lot of things already on his plate. It's like, oh, fine. If you do all the work, yeah, great.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. Listen, we are at 9:30, so I think we've taken up more than enough of your evening, Sam, and I'm sure you spend enough time in that room surrounded by your machines to not want to necessarily spend your entire Thursday evening as well. But thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to talk about or push people towards or encourage before we sort of close it down?
Yeah, go and buy your Solarcan off Analogue Wonderland before Solarcan Day and get them installed. Yay!
That was perfect. I mean, I will balance it by saying you can buy it from us. By all means, you can also buy it directly from Sam at Solarcan. We're running a small discount on the singles to make it £15 until the solstice. But no, thank you so much, Sam. I'm going to shamelessly also pitch for you the fact that before we came on, you said, I'd love it if my Instagram got a few more followers. So just in case you're not following Solarcan, at the Solarcan on Instagram, please do go and join. Marina, any final sort of questions or thoughts for Sam?
No, I think I asked everything I wanted to ask him.
And you said you've done the Solarcan for a year. Is your image on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, it is indeed. And actually, I have a video of it on my YouTube channel that all the documentation that how I did it, and then my review. So yeah, you can, if you want, you can check the Ifwithman's YouTube channel.
Perfect. This is like we're getting good at this, guys. We're getting good at this. Then we say, what do we do? We say subscribe here or there.
You hit the bell button.
Hit the bell button, yeah, for the latest. That's fine. I will put a link up in the comments to Marina's video review of Solarcan. We'll put a link up of how to buy a disco ball for the inside.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Sam. There's really, really appreciate you spending the time. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Next week, we have Mike Gutterman. The Gutter Man Cave is dialing in to the UK. He said to me, as he goes back to work at Ford, there are days when he doesn't have shifts. He said he has managed to make it so that he doesn't have shifts that day or the next day. So he's going to basically start drinking whiskey with us inappropriately early for his time, totally appropriate for us. So next week is going to be absolutely awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. We will see you next week.